Welcome back to Triangle Curling Club in Durham, North Carolina for the inaugural 2023 Brewers Charity Spiel. Zach Burley, Zakai Siegel here with you in this beautiful facility in the Triangle area. Just to give you a little bit of a background of exactly what we're doing here, this is the very first time ever, but they have assembled here at the Triangle Curling Club a collection of local breweries who supply much of the alcohol on tap here, which there is plenty of, to compete against one another with the winning team going on to give the money that is raised to this to their selected charity. We're going to tell you all about the teams and their respective charities, but let's give you an update on where we stand and who's playing where. First of all, Zach, Zakai, we saw a lot of very fun curling in the first part. Now
Absolutely.
we're going to have mismatches of teams. So the best scoring teams are going to play each other, which means we're going to have a lot of interesting matchups as far as how that pans out for who's going to win. Because when the two top teams points-wise face off, only one of them can win the game, meaning that those 5 points are up for grabs. So the total table can totally change in session number 2.
Absolutely. It was a bit of a free-for-all in round one. Each team is a combination of brewers and curlers. So, some of these folks haven't played with each other before. Each team has to find their own rhythm. So we saw a lot of figuring of that out in game one. And so game two has just begun, and we're going to see, I'm sure, some top tier. If not, it's a lot of really fun curling here
Exactly.
in game two.
And another point to make is the fact that some of these teams, the brewery teams, brought more than 2 people. So they've also subbed some new people in that have yet to play. So everything is up for grabs. Let's talk you through what we've got on offer today. So going from left to right, there are 4 sheets, all of which correspond to a letter. So on the left-hand side of your screen, we have sheet A. That is going to be the Glass Jug Beer Lab playing with the Red Rocks against Durham Distillery playing with the yellow. Glass Jug is representing today their charity of choice, the Triangle Empowerment Center. Durham Distillery, theirs NC Planned Parenthood of the South Atlantic. Now, just left of center on your screen is sheet B, the one just to the left of the middle line, right down the middle of your screen. That's Tobacco Wood Brewing in red. They are the second top team as far as points goes. They got 8.5 points in the first round. That is a team that is backed by their chosen charity, the Simplify in America's Fund. They're facing off against Trophy Brewing, which was the top scoring team, 10.5 points. Nick Miles had a great first time around. Trophy Brewing tied up with their chosen charity, Note in the Pocket. Sheet C, just right of center. Full Steam Brewery is in red with the Red Stones. They had 4.5 points. They drew. That's Christy Piero's team. Full Steam Brewery Triangle Land Conservancy is their chosen charity. They're going up against Linwood Brewing, the number 3 place team. Their charity of choice is Pip's Rescue. And then finally, on the far right-hand side of your screen, sheet D, Ponysaurus Brewing. Their charity of choice is Equality NC, and they're facing off against Ancillary Fermentation, who chose as theirs Wake SPCA. So that's a lot coming at you, but no, the 2 middle sheets are the top 4. So on sheet B is 1 versus 2, sheet C is 3 versus 4, and then the teams that were at the bottom of the stack at the end of the first round are playing on the outside sheets A and D. So Zakai, there is a lot at stake here because a team, let's say, that got 8.5 points, gets demolished in the second game. They don't win. They only score in one end. They don't really pick up many points. But a team maybe drew their first game, like the case for Full Steam Brewery, has an opportunity here to win, pick up points, and jump all the way up from 4th, maybe 5th, to still win this thing. So there is opportunities abounding for a team, regardless of where they finish in session 1.
Right, that's one of the beauty of a point spiel, is that it has the opportunity, is open for these big point swings to happen. Every single end that you win is points. Every point that you score is points. So yes, some teams have a bit of an advantage point-wise going into game 2, but we saw some big point swings in game 1. We could easily see some big point swings in game 2, and that could really change it up. So any team can take it at this point. It's too early to say.
Absolutely, and we will keep you updated on the scores and get you the final results when this is all over. It is a shortened 4-end game today, just the same as session number 1. And one team that might be feeling especially good is Mike Russell's Durham Distillery. They played on sheet A to start with. They're on sheet A again, and as someone who has played on all these 4 sheets, each of them has their own personality. So being on the same sheet twice can give you a little bit of an advantage because you know somewhat how it's going to play.
That's true. And as we were saying earlier, the ice does change over the course of the day. But each sheet has a bit of a different feel to it based on the individual throws that were, or stones that were thrown in previous games. So being able to play on the same sheet as before does give you a bit of knowledge about how the ice is behaving on this particular day. That could help them out.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Sheet A, Mike Russell and the Durham Distillery, they're facing off against the Glass Jug Beer Lab, which just missed out on winning on sheet D on the other end, which is another edge sheet, which sometimes play different than the sheets down the middle. Our big focus will be on sheet B, which is a high-powered offense battle, as Tobacco Wood Brewing got 8.5 points from game number 1, and Trophy Brewing got 10.5. They're both backed by some very interesting charities. The Tobacco Wood Brewing, Simplifying America's Fund. I spoke to one of their representatives on the break that we had during lunch, and that is a group that supports primarily Marines and former Navy sailors that have lost limbs or suffered traumatic injuries during service. They help them transition from the service into wheelchairs, prosthetics, whatever it is they need, give them support. They put up sporting leagues to help them maintain that camaraderie that can so often be lost when you're out of the service. So as with all of these charities, a fantastic story. They're going off against another very worthy charity, and Note in the Pocket of Trophy Brewing, which gives clothes for children so that they can have dignity and love in the classroom. And I spoke to one of their representatives during the break as well, and she was saying as a child, of course, it can be very difficult to go into classroom and, not necessarily have the clothes that fit the weather, or clothes that you feel maybe aren't up to standard with the other kids that you see around you. They can really be difficult for you to adapt to the learning environment. And so they provide clothes to give, as they said, dignity and love to children in the classroom. So you can talk about those stories up and down, but it makes this so much more fun because it's not just about the fun we're having on the ice. It's also about supporting these amazing causes.
Absolutely. They sound like I'm torn now. I want.
Exactly.
I wish we had money to spread around to all of these wonderful charities. There's a lot of great causes being played for today, which is really, really wonderful. But you know what? Just because we're running a charity here doesn't mean anyone of the folks at home, if there's a charity that you see here today and something that their message, their passion speaks to you, and you have the finances to support them, please take the time.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of wonderful charities here.
Absolutely, and the club, credit to them for putting this on, but also to the distilleries and breweries themselves who also support these charities. I was talking to the representative from Simplifying America's Fund, who says they do a yearly run, a 5K with Tobacco Wood Brewing that they sponsor. So these charities are getting love from these breweries and distilleries, as well as the Triangle Curling Club today. Zach and Sakai here with you. So glad you've joined us for this inaugural Brewers Charity Spiel, which I look forward to seeing in the future. It's already been a really fun event. So let's take a look on the ice and see exactly what's going on. Looks like everybody's going at about the same pacing. Last time it was sheet A that was running away with things, but a stone is in play on sheet C. It's a red. They're going to try and nestle it in.
All right, looks like they've managed to tap their red further in, tucked nicely behind the guards. But also the shooter rolled to a biter. So 2 stones in the house. That red looks like it's not, maybe out counting the yellow. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Here is sheet C in detail. You can see the yellow being delivered from Linwood Brewing. It's going to clip off their own guards. Just missed those 2 red guards up top. And there's a look in the house as well. And it does look like perhaps, the angle can be a little bit misconstrued sometimes. Maybe the yellow is just out biting the red.
Looks like it is. Looks like red is sitting 1. And that yellow is out counting the secondary red. But if that yellow leaves play, that red stone is now in effect, could be a point. But there's still many stones left to be thrown here.
Full Steam Brewery and Chris DiPiero on sheet C. Les has just delivered on sheet B. That's the one just left of center on your screen. A little bit of a wide delivery for Les. Might just clip the red if it stays in play.
Looks like it's drifting out. If it crosses that line onto the other sheet, it's going to have to be removed. But it does stay in play. That is very far up in the corner. Probably not going to have a big effect on that game. But, you know, that's all right. We have curlers from wide range of experience out here today. Again, playing for good causes. We're going to see a variety of shots today. That one didn't work out. That's okay. There's always another stone.
Ponysaurus and ancillary fermentation on sheet D. We've got Ponysaurus up to throw now. They are the red stones. That was a big huck down there. We'll see if it stays online.
It's coming in hot down the middle, but that stone needs to really curl if it's going to take out that center yellow. Will it make it over enough? Oh, inch, not even inches, just brush and pie. Unfortunately, not going to take out that yellow.
So look in at sheet D for you. Very good look in from above.
Over on sheet A, we see yellow trying for a tap up. They've tapped into and knocked that center red off the button. A very nice tap raise for yellow. Now they're sitting with a slightly protected shot stone, out counting those two reds.
So we're starting to see the narratives unfold. As we get past end one, we'll know what people are chasing, but right now they're trying to lay down their name on these second sessions to see exactly where they are going to fall. A lot of traffic outside these houses. We did not see a lot of that in session one. I think maybe there was some hogged rocks as well as this ice being a little bit slow, but now you're seeing a lot of congestion outside the house, which can favor the team without the hammer because they want to clog up the middle and make it difficult to draw in or take out stones, especially if you've already got one inside.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the busier the ice is out front, the more difficult it can be to sneak into the house. You have to really get your weight just right so you can curl around the guards. We see an attempt on sheet B, that red rock just going a little bit too heavy. So it was able to get the curl around the guards, but had a little bit too much on it, and it just slid all the way through. It just makes life a little bit more difficult when there's a lot going on up front.
And those are directly correlated, speed and the amount of curl that there is, because the faster you throw it, the less curl. So if you throw it light, then sometimes you'll miss your mark because it's going to over curl. So it's like sliders, you know, you move one and the other one adjusts. So it's just that mixture where when you're watching it on TV, you think, they're just throwing the rock down there. It's not that difficult. Finding that right formula is what makes this such a difficult and strategic game.
Absolutely. There's a lot of nuance to each delivery. There's a lot of nuance to what the skips are calling, how much ice they're giving each stone. They're judging the ice and how much they think each stone is going to move. They're trying to get an idea of how each individual player is performing in that given day. There's a lot of little decisions that go into each throw, and it makes a big, big difference about where that stone ultimately ends up on the sheet.
Chris DiPiero and Full Steam Brewery are throwing their final rock of end number one. They've got some nice looks inside the house. Looks like they're sitting on 2 at the moment, but DiPiero might can add more with a draw around the outside.
So he's going to try and hit that port between the 2 yellows and draw all the way into the house. Sweepers are on that stone, but it's looking a little bit light, and it is curling in. Not going to make it in. Not even going to be in play. A little bit too light there.
So a hogged rock. It did not make it past the hog line, that black line you can see in the middle of your screen, so it will be removed from play. Last rock for red on Tobacco Wood Brewing. Tom Stanley in red throws his final stone of end number one. Coming on the right-hand side, that third panel on the right.
Again, trying to hit this port, but it has a lot of weight on this stone, and it is just going to go all the way through.
Once again, another example of having the right line, but then the weight being a little too heavy, which can throw everything off.
Absolutely.
So just about everyone is on last rocks. Sheet D, the final one for red, is going in now. You can see it on the right-hand side of your screen. It'll come into your shot. On the furthest right-hand side.
They're just trying to draw in and B's shot rock.
Looks like they just were able to nestle it on the button.
A beautiful freeze against the yellow, out counting everything.
Now on sheet A, they're on their last yellow rock for Durham Distillery. Mike Russell, you saw him exchanging blows with Chris DiPiero in the first end of the first session. Now we'll see what Mike Russell can come up with, as the house is looking somewhat favorable for him, currently sitting 1. There's the delivery by Russell. Out on the left-hand side, in on the right.
Now the sweepers have been called on hard. They got to get around that yellow guard, and they did. Now it needs to settle. He can't roll too far back. But it does. Sits in the 4-foot. So now yellow is counting 2 stones.
For those of you, they have 2 streams on offer for you today. You can watch all 4 of our sheets simultaneously at the same time, or you can go over to our secondary stream, which will cut between not only the wide angles, but then individual sheets as we're discussing them. So either one works for you, because when we're talking about a particular sheet on the 4 angles, you can see. If you want to go over to our secondary stream, just click on the channel logo. You should be able to find the second stream where we're going to be cutting back and forth between the different sheets. So if there's one particular team you're watching for and you don't want to see us cut, go on over to that secondary stream and you'll be able to get full coverage here on the YouTube channel. So last stones over on A, Red's throwing them in. It's the Glass Jug Beer Lab, as Skip Stadnick, watched by Lauren, who is brushing alongside Parker.
Now, will it be enough to dislodge those yellows? It will not. Gonna roll out. Yellow is still sitting 2.
They're all finished up on C, where Red of Full Steam Brewery have scored a single point. Looks like we're down to the final stones on D and B as well. So B is our leading game, our top 2 teams after round number 1. Tom Stanley is delivering the rock for Tobacco Wood Brewing.
Yellow is currently sitting 3 stones right now in the house. This red has to get through that port, but can't go too heavy.
Coming straight on to the red, and it's going to sit outside.
So yellow is certainly number 1. There is a red and a yellow biter, so the vices are going to have to take a look at those and come to a consensus about which one is closer. They're taking a look at it now.
Yep, and you can't quite see it, but on the far right-hand side of your screen, there is a very slight red stone there where the 2 are gathered on the center panel on the right-hand side of your screen. So that's what they're debating now. It's certainly 1 yellow, but whether or not the second yellow is closer than the red on the right-hand side of the middle panel is the discussion they are having. Also down to the last rock on sheet A as well, as yellow has thrown theirs in and will actually not do too much damage with that one. A decent showing of 2.
A little bit heavy, almost knocked their own yellow out and may have outcounted, or one of the reds may have outcounted it, but it was able to hang on. Looks like a score of 2 for yellow as they clear the ice and get ready for their next end.
So Durham Distillery sitting on 2 in the first end. Over on sheet C, Full Steam Brewery with 1, and then sheet D has just tallied theirs up as well. That is Ponysaurus Brewing with 3 in the first end. So a couple of games much closer than some of the first ends we saw in session number 1. We had a couple of teams scoring 4. So things are going to stay very tight as the stakes of this particular session really come into play. So the final score was 2-4 yellow on sheet B. Trophy Brewing, our leading team in the points after session 1, picking up that biter, getting a second one, and that was a steal, I believe. I believe that Tobacco Wood Brewing had the hammer in that one because they threw the last stone. So a steal of 2 is just about the best thing you could hope for.
That is a big deal. It's only a 4-end game, so every single end really matters, and taking 2 away, taking that advantage away from your opponent is a big deal. But of course, having scored in end 1 means they're not going to get hammer in end 2. So Tobacco Brewing has a chance to pick up some points here with advantage. Now early in end 2, we're seeing a lot of setup here. So there, the free guard rule is in effect as a reminder to everyone watching. That means the first 5 stones that are thrown, if they are guards, they cannot be removed from play. So a lot of times skips will call for guards early in the end, strategically to protect parts of the house that they want to then curl their stones into later on. So we're seeing these skip strategies unfold right now, setting up their plays for some scoring later on.
And it's not always intuitive in curling, but guards, you think guard is defensive. Guards is how you generate offense in curling. It's you set it up, you're basically putting a line, think something down the line to say, we're going to use this to score points later. So guard makes you think defensive, but guards is more of an offensive move of putting up areas that you can then use to help you score points.
Set up some guards, then curl your stones around. Now they're protected. Instead of putting your initial stone out and be exposed, it could easily be taken out. If the guard is in there, is in place ahead of time, now once you put up a stone in a scoring position perhaps, it's already protected. It's much more difficult for the opponents to get it out of there.
Linwood Brewing on sheet C, a very good outside draw in.
See, that's an example of what you were just saying. They set up a guard over on the right side, and then they drew right behind it. So now there's a protected yellow, and that is the shot stone.
So now Billy will deliver for Full Steam Brewery. You have that single point lead on C. He is a club member here. He and DiPiero are pitching in on the Full Steam Brewing team. DiPiero watches it. Is going to curl down on their own guards.
The goal was to get around. They might get a bit of a bump. They're going to get a raise instead. And they end up with 2 biters. You know, 2 stones in the house could come into play later on.
That will open up a nice gap for Eric LeBeau and Linwood Brewing to curl in behind. If they can nestle one behind that top red stone, they could be in some business to score some points.
That would put them at 2 stones buried in the house behind the guards. That would put them in a very good position if they can get this draw.
Linwood Brewing was in third after session number 1, 7 3/4 points. And very much within reaching distance.
I do want to point out, we just saw a great example of someone using a delivery stick to deliver a stone. It is most common for people to kneel down in the hack and push off on a slider, but curling is a very inclusive sport. If you cannot get into that delivery position, there is a delivery stick that allows for you to be upright and do like a walking deliver with the stone. Some people just prefer it. It's just more comfortable for them.
Very inclusive sport that accommodates people of all ages, as well as those of disabilities as well. It's very faint to see, but there are some very slight lines on the side. There's a black line that goes right down the middle of that circle you see on your screen. There's 2 very small, faint lines. Those are the wheelchair lines that can be used for people who are in wheelchairs, so it really does accommodate everyone. If you have any interest in playing curling at all, we'll take a look at the Triangle Curling Club right here in Durham, North Carolina. A great group of people who will help you with instructional leagues that take place every week on Saturdays, as well as league play if you're more familiar with it, or if you're transitioning from an instructional, there's a place for you out here.
That's a good angle.
Absolutely. A lot of wonderful folks, volunteer-run organization. Ooh, nice little takeout there on sheet B.
Same weight. Your weight is good. That flipper slider. Same weight.
Ancillary fermentation on sheet D. They are looking at 3 stones in the house or on the edge of the house. Yellow coming in a bit hot.
They want to just draw behind these reds and outcount them. That stone is losing momentum. It did get by, but they're going to sweep it out the back. As a reminder, you can sweep your opponent's stones after they cross the tee line. That's the halfway mark in the middle of the house. So they were able to sweep that stone a bit behind. So it's not the shot rock, unfortunate for ancillary fermentation.
Still in play, though. That is D that you were looking at right now. Ponysaurus leads by 3.
Yeah, I know.
Ponysaurus also trying to put some stones behind the guards. And that's going to come to a rest just off the side of the house. But as the new shot rock.
Take out the red. You want to hit? You want to draw? What do you want to do? We can take the red.
Eric LeBeau's Linwood Brewery
Behind the yellow.
on sheet C. They are shot rock.
Well,
take it out.
They're yellow just halfway on the 8 and the 12. The circles, the dark blue one is the 12-foot, the white is the 8, the 4-foot is the red circle, and the button right in the middle.
the draw is a shot.
Absolutely. You control the button, you control the house.
Straight draw.
She's got some pace on it, and somehow it managed to get all the way through. It's amazing how sometimes those 42-pound stones of granite can seem to miss everything.
There's so much going on up front, but there are ports between the guards. Sometimes you hit them when you want to, sometimes you hit them when you don't.
Here is sheet B you're taking a look at now. See a fairly empty house. Plenty to work with there.
Still anyone's end. You know, when a house is this open and you don't have guards, it all is going to come down to the skips on those final stones, especially if you have the hammer on an open house. That is when it's really up to the skip to deliver that draw and make sure that you get points on the board.
Tom Stanley, the skip for Tobacco Wood Brewing. They're in second place after session 1. He's trying to call for that draw in behind the yellow stone.
Sweepers are staying away from it for now as that stone curls in, but it is coming in a little bit early. It's slowing down. As it slows, it's going to curl in, and it is not going to get behind the yellow. Just going to be sitting there right up next to it.
You can see Tom Stanley, the skip for Tobacco Wood Brewing, trying to will it on, force it over. Unfortunately, no use of the force here for Tom Stanley, and so that one will nestle just outside the house.
The only thing you can do to help your stone once you let it go is call your sweepers to help you out. Now, sweeping a stone, it does help a stone maintain its momentum. So by sweeping in front of the stone, you help to carry it forward.
It's one of the misconceptions sometimes that people think that sweeping it makes it go faster. The better way to think about it is it makes it go slower, you know, less slow, I guess.
Right, it's maintaining the momentum that it has for a bit longer, and it carries that a bit further. But you got to be careful. If your broom touches a moving stone, that stone is burned and has to be removed from play.
Let's go a little more, because like, if I can kick him that way.
Closing down towards the end of end number 2. in this inaugural Brewers charity spiel at the Triangle Curling Club. Down to Vice's stones. So the lead, who throws the first two. The second, who throws the next two. The Vice, who throws the penultimate two. And the Skip, who throws the final two stones. Teams are comprised of 2 club members and 2 brewery members. So you have an even balance. Nick Miles just did a lot of sweeping to get that red stone out.
Meanwhile, some furious sweeping over on sheet A to really try and bring that yellow stone in, and they're able to get that stone to be shot rock. Excellent sweeping.
Now we're gonna hit. You want to hit?
Now on Skip Stone, it's going to be Nick Miles on our premier sheet, Sheet B. That is their top 2 teams. Trophy Brewing and Nick Miles, 10.5 points after session number 1. We saw him deliver an amazing shot in the first end of session 1. We'll see if he can replicate, come up with another brilliant shot to give his side an even bigger lead than the one they possess currently.
I'm just gonna put it dead on and go. Okay.
So he's trying to, looks like he's aiming up right on that red stone to hit and possibly, you think, Zakai roll.
Now that would be ideal if he could roll all the way across the house to be tucked in behind the guards. That is a very long way to roll. Looks like the goal is to get rid of this red and stay shot. But he certainly doesn't want his own shooter to roll out of the house, though. He wants to keep this stone in play. He's coming in with quite a lot of heat. Right on the nose, and that red is gone, and the yellow is going to stick around.
So basically just replaced it is all that was done there, but that's still going from a 1 red now to a 2 yellow, so a big turnover there.
Absolutely.
Sheet C also on Skip Stones is Christy Piero for Full Steam Brewery, gets ready to deliver.
Now yellow is still sitting 2 right now. He wants to come through this port and out count those stones. But it looks like he's going to raise the red instead, but with a little bit too much force. And his secondary red rolls through. Still 2 yellow.
And that was
on sheet C.
That was the final rock for Full Steam Brewery as well. So now it'll be the hammer shot, the final rock of this end for Linwood Brewing. They are sitting to a simple draw, which we say simple, but they're so difficult. Would give them 3 and give them a 2-point lead as we reach the halfway point of session number 2.
Cut over to B for a second. See this stone coming into the house. Takes out the yellow, but has a little bit too much. It didn't hit it on the nose, so it was able to roll itself out the back of the house.
Each side with 1 more stone to throw on sheet B. So that one not quite done yet. We're on the penultimate stones on A as well, as Mike Russell delivers his for the Durham Distillery.
Sweepers staying close just in case the skip calls them on, but they are unneeded for this particular stone. That stone doesn't quite have enough to get into the house. Still sitting 1 yellow, but red are stones 2 and 3. If they can move that yellow out of the way, suddenly they're sitting up to 3 points.
And remember, folks, sheet A was the one that in the first end, yellow stole 2. So now they're set up well to perhaps get another one and really do their scoring, their offense without the hammer, which is a dream.
That is difficult, but if you can pull it off, it is a very big benefit.
Back to B as Nick Miles delivers his last yellow.
Starting to curl in, but has a lot of momentum on it. A bit too heavy.
Now it'll be down to a draw for Tom Stanley to try and cut the deficit from 2 down to 1. Of course, they would have wanted to score more with the hammer, but you'll take points where you can get them. Unless, and I don't think they'll do this, they could
I was just seeing that it is possible if they take the inside of their own red and split it, they can roll to either side of the yellow and get 2 points. That's a very difficult shot for it to require a lot of finesse and a lot of guts, because if you tip off the yellow, you might push the yellow further in, and then that could secure the point for yellow versus a relatively easy draw to guarantee your 1.
Another also unlikely scenario could be a blank of the end if Tom Stanley was to tick that yellow, but it doesn't look like that's what he's going for.
He's going for the draw. This is a point spiel, so a blank end would mean neither team gets the point for winning that end. He's going to try and draw into the house here. The other team is going to try to sweep it out the back. Oh, and he is able to get that red out behind the back of the house, so yellow does take the point.
And that will be a steal as well for yellow. They put up 2 in number 1. Nick Miles, the leading team, trophy brewing after session number 1, sitting pretty with 3 points after the first half of session number 2.
All right, let's keep it simple. Just right here.
I'm okay if we're in. Okay. But a 3's good.
Yeah.
So now everyone just about done with in number 2. They are throwing the final rock for Team Yellow on sheet A. Mike Russell's Durham Distillery. This will be his last shot of the end. They're currently guarding a 2-0 lead and a shot rock inside the 4.
There's a lot going on up in front of the house here. I'm not sure this stone is going to make it.
But honestly, they're probably okay with that given the situation.
Oh yeah, they're still, yellow is still shot with lots and lots of guards up ahead. There are very few paths you can take to get to that yellow. But there is one stone left for Glass Jug.
And I saw perhaps them talking about maybe hitting a red and rolling in, but
another option is they could attempt to go for a raise. If they can curl in enough behind the guards and tap their red into the yellow. They could also go for a very long double raise, red to red to red to yellow.
Yep. Easy stuff.
It is very difficult to get the angles right, but you take any opportunity you can to get into the house. So here comes the stone.
Laura Jean Stadnick, Glass Jug Beer Lab, trying to salvage something here after the opposition stole 2 in the first end. That near about works out almost. You saw it was formulating there, kind of what you had spoken through, but in the end, it's going to be yet another steal for Durham Distillery.
That is correct. With a very busy house like this, with a lot of guards, you have to just work the angles the best you can. Sometimes you get a really amazing shot, but it makes your life much more difficult.
So now everyone is on 3. We are past the halfway point all the way around.
Target on her back.
One more weight.
Into the second half here of session number 2. The inaugural 2023 Brewers Charity Spiel, Triangle Curling Club.
Nice and easy.
Mine looks good. Not sure about the first one.
We don't want to take our own out.
No, that's not. Clearly hard.
Just a draw.
I think we sped up.
Yep. Guard. Anywhere in here.
Just easy.
No.
Nice and easy.
In front of you. Draw it, guard. In front of that one. Yeah.
Right the other way.
Don't shove it into. if you can. All right, good sleep, guys.
Pretty good on.
What's up, hack?
Here in 3 of session number 2 in the Brewers Charity Spiel. These teams battle it out. Sheet B is where teams 1 and 2 are playing. Teams 3 and 4 are on sheet C, so those are where our eyes would naturally look for a possible champion. But they can come from anywhere because this is a point spiel. No one is out of it at this point. So a big heavy red sent in from Tobacco Wood Brewing. It's going to strike true on the yellow.
Looks like both are going to stick around. Yellow is still shot.
Probably take that red one out.
Needed a little bit more weight. Would have been able to,
Take out or
they would have
draw?
curled a little bit less and taken that yellow out, but as the stone slowed down, it wasn't able to hit yellow quite square. And now they're both in the house.
Try to draw.
We've gotten a good crowd gathered out here. I believe spectators that have come to see family members, friends, or their favorite distillery, or here in the warm room, which is just behind where the sheets are. We're looking at it long ways, and a great crowd has gathered out. For those of you that are watching online, and they're rowdy, they're cheering, and they're into it as well, as we have seen some really good curling on offer.
It's kind of like a heavy draw. Like back 8, try to move this
We
back.
can't overstate just how difficult this is. We have curlers here representing their brewers who have never played curling before or just have one training session under their belt, but they're out here in front of the world representing their charity and their distillery, their brewery, and putting on quite a show. We have seen a great level of play, especially considering that we've got some very new players to the game.
Absolutely, this is a team game. So it is up to the skips to balance the individual skill levels of their players and do the best that they can with it. If someone has a little bit less experience, maybe you have them up front, setting up your guards. But as long as you're listening to your skip as a sweeper, you just need to know to be ready to be there by the stone to go on when the skip needs to call you on. And as long as you're up there, keeping up with the stone, sweeping hard, you can still have a very big impact on each end.
So let's take you through a scores update now to kind of help you understand where we're sitting and what's at stake. We're going to go left to right here. Sheet A, this is the not 2 bottom teams, but right next to it. So this is going to be 6 and 5 facing off here. And now Durham Distillery's up in this game. With the points they could garner, this could really push them up for a top spot. The problem that they're facing is that on Sheet B, our top 2 teams, Yellow, Trophy Brewing, and Nick Miles are winning this game. They were the lead ahead. If they win both of their games, nobody can catch them because of the amount they scored the first time. So Durham Distillery on Sheet A may be able to win and catapult themselves over Tobacco Wood Brewing, who are on Sheet B, because they're not going to get as many points playing possibly Trophy Brewing, who might win if they keep this up. So that's the dynamic there. Durham Distillery looking on hopefully to Sheet B that maybe they can get moving up because of Trophy Brewing. But if anyone else wants to take the top spot, they're going to need Tobacco Wood Brewing to take down Nick Miles and Trophy Brewing. On Sheet C, we have our 4 and 5 game, which is, rather our 3 and 4 game, Linwood Brewing in a very close third at 7 3/4 points. Right now, they're down to Christy Piero's Full Steam Brewery, which would mean that once again, Durham Distillery, Full Steam Brewery, they faced off on Sheet A, played to a draw, could be battling it out for second, maybe third, depending on what happens with Tobacco Wood Brewing. But those two who are so close again probably don't know it because you're not focusing on sheets otherwise, but those two are neck and neck and possibly the battle for second.
That is very interesting. Even though these teams aren't playing against each other head-to-head on the same sheet, points-wise, because this is a point spiel, they are neck and neck. They are battling with their opponents, but also against each other to try and get ahead.
Yeah, right now, as things stand, Trophy Brewing would be on top, and then it would be a shootout between Durham Distillery and Full Steam Brewery as to who can score more, because right now they're both winning, and the 5 points would take them into second. So it's going to be a nail biter when we look at the 2 spot, unless Tobacco Wood Brewing can come up with something and take down Nick Miles and Trophy Brewing on sheet B. Let's take a look over at D as well, though. They have got very early stages here of their 3rd end, and it is just a slight lead for Ponysaurus Brewing, who put up 3 in the first and had their lead slightly negated.
All the way down, all the way down.
That'll be a big huck to go all the way through.
They're now sitting 2 reds. That last red will sail through the house. Still sitting 2 reds on a fairly open house. Yellow has 1 stone in the house, but it is being outcounted by both reds. Ancillary is going to have to get some stones in play if they're going to take control of this situation in N3.
And also to be noted, Ponysaurus in red have the hammer. They have the last shot, so that's also going to play in an opportunity maybe to put this one beyond reach and move themselves off the bottom of the table after session 1.
That is a serious advantage to have points in the house and the hammer. Puts them in a good position for another score.
Michael DeCar, skip for Ancillary Fermentation, delivering his stone.
Sweepers are struggling to keep up with it. A tap off his own yellow, but rolls a bit far. It is not going to be shot. Not going to even stay in the house because of some good sweeping on the back end.
It was a good idea, though. You could see what they were trying. Roll off either theirs or hit the red, and that would get them into a position that would mean they were shot rock. Sometimes those fine margins, because when we're talking about a stone, you either need to hit it dead on or a quarter off. I mean, those small, less than an inch, can be the difference between rolling in, staying dead on, or rolling all the way out of the house.
That's true. It is a battle of inches there on the ice.
Nick Miles for Trophy Brewing. Hit and roll with his penultimate stone.
Ideally, we hit this one. If we peel this one, that's good too. We got to do something for it.
Oh, I play so bad.
So now they will go over to Tom Stanley of Tobacco Wood Brewing, who is instructing his vice. Taylor, I believe.
Yeah, so the skip calls all of the shots for all of his teammates, but when it is his turn to deliver, the vice has to step in and hold that broom based on what they've discussed, so that the skip has a target for his delivery.
So Stanley with his penultimate stone for Tobacco Wood Brewing. They are in the hole by 3. As they get into the 3rd inning, they really need to pick something up here if they want to give themselves an opportunity.
All right, 3 yellow in the house right now. They want to tuck this red in a spot where it cannot be easily removed. So it's coming into the house right now. Oh, it's just squeaking by both yellows. Even a little bit of contact might have slowed that stone down enough that it would stay in the house and be useful. It just slipped by both of them.
And how many times have we seen that in this second session where rocks have missed by mere millimeters?
Over and over again.
So Miles will now deliver his final stone as we're getting down the final rocks of end number 3. Miles has got it all his way right now in the house at the far end. 3 stones inside with the possibility of adding 1 more and making it a very difficult time for Tom Stanley and Tobacco Wood Brewing.
But he still doesn't want to just put this rock anywhere. Ideally, he keeps it towards the front of the house. That way it offers some level of protection for stones behind, because there is still 1 more stone from Tobacco Wood coming after this. So he wants this stone to count, but he also wants it to be a bit of protection for the 2 shot stones.
And once again, almost the exact same shot we saw last time, except this one just ticking off the yellow near the button.
All right, so 4 shot stones for Trophy Brewing. 1 last chance in end number 3 for Tobacco Wood Brewing to get a stone in there. It is very possible to outcount all of these stones and give 1 to Tobacco Wood.
Now, if they can't at least winnow down the amount of yellow stones in there, they're going to find it tough to come back from. A point here would narrow it down to just a 2-point lead for our leaders in this Brewers Charity Spiel. Trophy Brewing.
Getting ones ain't gonna do it though.
Very fine margins as Nick Miles and his Trophy Brewing team might just be away if Tom Stanley and Tobacco Wood can't come up with something here.
A draw to the button is just what they need. It is starting to curl in center, but will it rest right where they need it? It's got a little bit of weight on it. Ooh, it is gonna roll into the back, takes out 1 yellow, but Trophy is still sitting 3 stones.
That will double their tally, take it to 6-0 on sheet B, and Trophy Brewing might have just put their name on the inaugural championship here. They were the league leaders coming into recession number 2. A win would make it very difficult for anyone to catch them. Still, there is another in to play for most of these teams. Everyone is on in 4, minus on sheet A, where it is a duel between Glass Jug Beer Lab and the Durham Distillery. They have probably the best showing of any group here. They got a lot of fans gathered out watching intensely. Glass Jug Beer Lab and their skip, Laura Jean Stadnick. And once again through the house in Sakai, this has been a session that has seen a lot of movement on rocks. They've been moving a lot more. That goes to show a little bit how when the room heats up, the rocks can move a little bit faster. We've seen so many go straight through the house or perhaps overshoot where they were looking for.
Yes, I was just thinking something similar. I mean, they've played, as you play, you're warmed up, you're able to get a little bit of a stronger draw out of the house. But as that ice changes over the course of the game, as we keep throwing stones down these sheets, and more time spent in the room with the ice heating up, we're going to see more and more shots go through. You have to, it's one of those things that you learn over time to pull back on your throws over the course of the game.
So we're focused in here on sheet A. Everybody else is just throwing the beginning of end 4. So we're focused in on sheet A here as they're closing out end 3. Right now, it is Durham Distillery with a 3-0 lead after the first 2 ends. They might just set themselves up for a second spot if they can seal it, as results elsewhere making it favorable for them to finish in second.
Now they're currently sitting 1. Durham Distillery wants this last stone to be counting. Hits a bit of the brakes off their own yellow. Certainly sitting 1. Difficult to say if yellow or red is stone number 2. Oh, pardon me. There is a back red that is sitting number 2.
I was looking for our number 2. I'm like, hey, where is it?
So this is an interesting situation. So if Glass Jug can take out that center yellow and stick around, they'll be 1 and 2, and there's a chance that they're number 3 as well, based on those 2 stones biting the 8-foot.
A 3 would tie things up. The shot in from Stadnik. Glass Jug Beer Lab trying to tie this one up. They need it to be pinpoint perfect.
Sweeper's trying to hold the line. It is curling in. Does take out the yellow and stays shot. They are 1 and 2. The Vices are going to have to come in and verify which stone is number 3.
And this is a huge tally right here, because if it is 1 and 2, they're going to be 1 point away. But if it's a tie, that means they're going to give the hammer over to Durham Distillery in the final end, and they just got to get 1 to win. So without the hammer, you want this to be tied, because a steal of 1 gets you the win. If you're down by 1, you need to steal 2 to win, which makes things very difficult.
Absolutely. And I see they've actually left 3 stones on the ice. They're debating that back yellow as well, perhaps.
A lot of discussion going on. Looks like they're going to break out the measurer to help decide on that one, so we can go back and look at our full sheets, and we'll update you on that one as soon as they get a final measurement. But right now they've got 2 in the bag. Certainly it'll be 3 to 2 at least, but Glass Jug Beer Lab might just be able to tie things up into the final end. So this is in 4 for everybody else. Sheets B through C, left to right on your screen. And the scores going in, we are looking at a 6-0 lead for Trophy Brewing. We're running away with things. On sheet C, we are tied at 2. In a game that could not be closer, as a possibility of a second place spot is open for these teams, as Glass Jug Beer Lab has drawn it closer against Durham Distillery. So sheets B and sheets A are fighting for second place right now. Both teams very much open for the possibility of doing so.
You go.
Measurement has just concluded on sheet A. We've got our eyes peeled over there to see what they put up on the board. We'll let you know as soon as they put it up there. That's going to have huge implications, because Chris DiPiero and his Full Steam Brewery was looking at a possible third place spot behind Durham Distillery, but now they're eyeing second, as it's possible. Yes, it will be tied on sheet A3.
Oh, wow.
To bring things level, which means that second place spot has been blown open. It will come down to the final end. The only team that's really gotten away from anybody is Trophy Brewing on sheet B.
What's it going for now? It's half in the middle?
Looks like in this final end on B, they are jockeying for control of the house. Let's take a closer look at the house. Let's see if we can see which one is shot. Red appears to be shot at the moment, but 2 guards in front as well.
See Nick Miles in conversation with his vice.
Light is okay.
That was his call. Light is okay.
Just wants to keep that stone in play rather than see it pass through the house, as we've seen before.
Yeah. More guards. Sweep. Sweep hard. More guards.
Ticks 1 red out. Promoted their own yellow. Not a bad shot.
Now, red is still the shot position. So they're trying to peel away those guards, open up an opportunity to get that red out of there. And if that red stone leaves, suddenly it's only yellow in the house.
Pack locker.
Like board.
Board.
Ponysaurus is running away with it on sheet D. They're up 6-1 right now after the first 3 ends.
Try to hit this one.
They had the lowest points total after the first session, 1.75. But this could see them jump up to 4th and perhaps even 3rd if they can keep this scoring rate up. It's the beauty of a Bonspiel, folks. A beautiful draw in by Les on sheet B. Might just have been Shot Rock now. It looks like it is. It's alongside Shot Rock. Remember, Les is one of the Brewery members, and he has thrown an absolute dagger here to perhaps claw some back in the final end for Tobacco Wood.
If we're heavy and we do this, that's okay.
Oh yeah, there'll be some folks asking him to join their leagues later on today, I believe.
Remember, that's the figure skater we told you about in session 1, so he can do it all.
The ice is his home territory.
So if we put one in that corner, so we want to end up in between those two yellows. So just if we ever just not in the house, draw another.
So getting towards Vice Stones and a couple of these. DiPiero is throwing his first skip stone for Full Steam Brewery on C. That one is currently tied with a pretty good look for Brewery.
He wants to keep this stone in play. Hopefully it'll offer some protection for their shot red. Sweeper's trying to get that over the hog and get it a little bit closer to center. There's still room to curl around that guard, but it does offer some protection.
So that'll be Eric LeBeau's call now, as he'll go take his first skip stone shot as they debate over what their options are here. Kind of looked like they were sizing up maybe a curl in from the other side. We'll see exactly what they decide to go with.
There's a bit more space on the other side if they choose to go that route. Less likely of a chance of tapping up an opponent's stone if you're not on broom.
I didn't realize we could probably get it.
You want to try and tag?
Just saw a big shrug from Eric LeBeau of Linwood Brewing. He said, is this line going to move? And he just shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't know. And sometimes that is how it is on a skip. You can only read the ice so much.
But it's always good to have that communication with your team. So they know what you're looking for. And if they have any information about how the ice is performing, they can, or how they're feeling in the moment, good to just let your skip know so he can use that for calculating the next shot. Takeout called over on sheet A. Able to get a tip off of the red, and will push it out of the house. But unfortunately, the shooter did not stick around.
Glass Jug, remember, do not have hammer. They are coming from behind this one, facing a tie game going into the last end. And right now, they're sitting 2. Still time to get this one back to Durham Distillery, but that is a game that has been turned on its head.
Absolutely. Great pickup of 3 points in the third end. And now sitting 2, but the house is still very wide open, which is a great advantage for the team with hammer, which is Durham Distillery.
Lauren with the delivery.
Sweeper's trying to keep this stone straight. They want it right on the center line. Ooh, a little bit behind the tee line. But that's going to open an opportunity up for Durham to get a stone in and be shot.
Last shot of session number 2 for Chris DiPiero. as he leads Full Steam Brewery here to a hopeful second place spot, trying to leapfrog their way up.
This stone needs to start curling if he's going to get around those guards.
We saw his last shot be a little bit light.
Yeah, the sweepers are going hard, but not hard enough.
You gotta get rid of one of them and no worries after
Yeah,
that.
and if you can,
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did slow down quite a lot.
Yeah,
Might have
knock down
nicked
the center.
something along the way.
So you're gonna be close
And now
to
Eric LeBeau looking at this house, saying he can win it if he just draws in, hits the red. His side are sitting 4, which would give him the win and a big point boost as well for a team that was coming 3rd into this session 2. This could be your second place team if they can make this shot.
Absolutely, this is a great example. A lot of times people think of only the stones closest to the middle being the ones that matter, but you have these 2 biters for Linwood Brewing, and if they can clear out the red stone, every yellow that's touching the house is going to be worth some points.
So here we go, folks. The last stone on sheet C, a tie game as we stand, but Eric LeBeau in Linwood Brewing trying to lock up a second place spot with this delivery.
Sweepers are on. They're trying to hold that line. It is curling in. Taps off his own yellow. And that red stays untouched.
What could have been for Linwood Brewing? In the end, it will be Chris DiPiero in Full Steam Brewery who will take the end, break the deadlock. They came from behind right at the end of that game to take the win, get some points, and perhaps catapult themselves into second.
Love to see a lot of handshakes there at the end.
This is now sheet B, where our top 2 teams are facing off. Nick Miles and the Trophy Brewing are looking like they're gonna take the top spot, but there's an opportunity to score some points here late for Tobacco Wood and maybe hold on to the second place spot. They have yet to put any points on the board, which is what is hurting them at the moment.
They're hoping to just get at least one end and get a couple more points from this game.
First of 2 final rocks for Tom Stanley and Tobacco Wood Brewing.
Plenty of room on this side of the sheet to curl in. His sweepers just got to get him there.
Right on the button.
Oh, we have a bit of a spill, but he is smiling, back on his feet. So in this situation, the skips will do their best to reset the stones.
Line's okay.
As long as he's okay, we're okay.
So good to see everybody. Looks like they're going to be all right. Because he also might have just nicked that other rock as well, they're going to remove it as well. This is sheet A. A draw right on the button as this game is tied as well.
Whoever can control the house in this final end will take this game. But again, yellow currently sitting shot, but no protection at all. Any sort of hit on that stone will push it out.
They are still finishing up vice stones on sheet A.
yeah, it's a good season.
Nick Miles is throwing his final shot of session 2.
Somebody needs to record this.
Just trying to knock out that red and seal up a victory. So a great shot, a great finish. Nick Miles throwing his final shot and giving a house for Tom Stanley to look at and say the best we can hope for is a draw.
That's true. They can still find their way in. If they're touching the 4 foot, they will outcount all those yellows and get themselves something in game 2.
So now to the final throw on sheet B. Our top 2 teams, Trophy Brewing and Tobacco Wood Brewing. It looks like it will be Trophy Brewing to be our champions, but now it's a matter of whether or not Tobacco Wood can get a few points on the board to help their pursuits for second.
Weight looks good. Just needs to settle. Ooh, but they are able to sweep that out the back. And that'll be 3 points for yellow. And Trophy Brewing will take that end and game.
That will be a commanding victory for Trophy Brewing as they add even more points onto their tally. They're going to get up near the 20 mark just about. So the only sheet we have left in play is sheet A, where Glass Jug Beer Lab and Durham Distillery are tied going into the final. So it is 3-3 here in 4. We're now down to skips throwing their rocks, and up first will be Laura Jean Stadnick of Glass Jug Beer Lab. They came from 3-0 down to tie this game at 3 in the third in by the finest margins. Now, without the hammer, they've got 2 stones already in the house trying to take out this yellow to sit 3.
The biggest problem they're going to have is that there's no guards. There's nothing to protect their stones once they take out this yellow. They're going to have to hope for a bit of a miss from Glass Jug later on. Oh, excuse me, from Durham. But first things first, they got to get this yellow stone out of the house. That stone will not do it, just tapping off their own reds. So this gives Durham Distillery a chance to put up some sort of protection, put up a guard on their shot rock. We'll see if that's the call.
Yeah, they do have the hammer, so they have a slight advantage here as the game is deadlocked. So Mike Russell will jog down the other end for Durham Distillery. We saw him make some incredible shots on this same sheet when he was battling it out with Full Steam Brewery in session 1. Now he's just trying to come up with one of the more simple shots to help cement this victory.
All right, this shot does not even need to be in the house to be useful. You really just want it to be just to the right of center when it settles to protect the shot yellow. So it really needs to curl. Brewers are trying to keep it going. They want it to really come over as much as they can. Well, that stone is going to, it is a guard, but it still leaves a lot of that shot stone exposed.
So now it's a 2-part plan for the Glass Jug Beer Lab. First of all, they got to make their shot, and then they need Mike Russell to miss one.
True, and this new guard that was just placed by Durham could be a big help. If Glass Jug can tip just to the left of nose on the shot yellow and roll a little bit behind the guard, that could be a very difficult situation to remove that stone. So let's see if they can do it.
So Stadnick with the delivery.
Sweepers have been called off. Jumping on here right at the end. But they're not able to push it in.
Once again, fine margins, the undoing. And it's going to be just wide. And now Mike Russell's going to send one in to get another point. The victory is secured unless they knock out their own stone, which is possible. It does happen.
It is possible. In a normal game, the skips would probably shake hands right
Yes.
here. They wouldn't bother throwing the last stone. But this is a point spiel. So every stone has to be thrown. Every point matters. But it also does give them the chance at a mistake. And they could hand the game over to Glass Jug.
So this is the last rock to be thrown in the 2023 Brewers Charity Spiel at the Triangle Curling Club in Durham, North Carolina. What an event it has been. Can't wait to get you the final results, but we have to have our last stone. It'll be Mike Russell representing the Durham Distillery. They are tied at 3, so they just need a single point to win the game. That would get them 5 points and help them in their pursuit of a second place finish. But it could be sweeter than that if they can add 2 points to the board and get even more. Mike Russell, final stone of this Brewers Charity Spiel.
Sweepers are on. They're trying to get it into the house. They got to sneak past the guard, but they do not. Collides with the guard. That stone will not count. But they were able to secure that one stone they needed. That 1 point gets them the end, gets them the win.
So that will be enough to take the 5 points for the victory for Mike Russell. He drew his first game as Durham Distillery go undefeated. A draw and a win to take what we assume will be a top 3 or 4 spot. We'll crunch the numbers and let you know. But now it is a time for teams to get back on the ice, take a group photo, and really reflect on what has been a very good event overall. And the best part is, a charity is going to be going home with some money.
Absolutely. This has been a wonderful afternoon of curling. A lot of smiles, a lot of fun being had, a lot of good food and drink in between the sessions. And I don't know about you, Zach, but I've been having a great time in here in the booth with you.
It has been so much fun, Zakai. We have seen some great curling. Like you said, we've had some great environments around us. Families and friends have filtered in here at Triangle Curling Club, nestled right in RTP. So if you're looking at this and saying, man, that looks interesting, I'd like to try it out. There are instructional leagues starting up this month. There are also learn to curl sessions, pick up curling. There are so many opportunities for you to get involved with the sport of curling, and all you got to do is look up Triangle Curling Club. If you're watching from out of state, out of country, guess what? You can look up a curling club near you as well there. I promise you, there are very few places that there aren't one at least nearby, especially if you're up in the northern United States. There are plenty around. They are great people. It's a great sport. There are opportunities for you to get involved, and we encourage you to do so.
We do have a number of regular members at Triangle Curling that do live out of state. This is simply the closest option to them. There's a handful of folks who come in from Virginia whenever they get the chance. We have a really wonderful facility here. As we see, we have 4 full ice sheets, full warm room, kitchen, bar. So it's a really, really comfortable facility. Folks really love to come out here. So we get folks from neighboring states all the time.
So we will tally up the points, and we'll let you know who has won this inaugural Brewers Charity Spiel. Step away for just a moment, tally the scores, and come back to bring you the full-time results. Zach and Zakai back here with you for your final scores. Unofficial total, of course, but your final scores from the 2023 Brewers Charity Spiel. It was Trophy Brewing who come out on top with 20.75. They pretty much just doubled their tally from the first in. A very strong showing. Nick Miles and that team were great today.
Two very strong games, dominating performance in both sessions. So they earned a victory today.
Durham Distillery managed to make it into second. They tied their first game, but come up with a very late win that takes them over to 13.5 to get them the second place spot. We thought that a sheet game from game one where there was a tie could possibly be the team that leapfrogs, because both of them were very good, and the tie put them in a good spot to get a good draw in their next game. And Durham Distillery, of course, getting the losing side of the draw challenge, which meant they got the lower seeded game, which barely helped them out because they got it right at the end. And Full Steam Brewery came out in fourth with 13.25. They only had 4.5 after the first game, so they added 9 and then some change to theirs in the end. That was a big jump up over Linwood Brewing, who were sitting in fourth. After that, Pony Saurus, they're the biggest movers. They were in last after the first round. They picked up a whole 10 points to take them to 11.75 as they jump all the way into fourth. So from last to fourth, our biggest movers of the day, and that just goes to show you that it is never over in a point spiel.
Absolutely not. They had a great showing in game two, and it's the proof is in the scoreboard here.
Linwood Brewing takes over under Pony. Ponysaurus, Tobacco Brewing, Wood Brewing after that was in second. Ended up picking up no points in their second round, which on the other side shows you just how brutal it can be. Oftentimes finishing second is the worst. If the first team really is the best, finishing second can be bad, because if you lose that second game by a hefty margin, that really means you could be out of it. So second, sometimes the bad place to be after the first round.
A difficult situation. They weren't able to get a single end and ended up just dropping down in the scores.
Then Ancillary Fermentation and Glass Jug Beer Lab finished out at the bottom, but both of them had opportunities, especially Glass Jug Beer Lab, but it came down to the final shot in their game. So that does it from myself, Zach Burley, Zakai Siegel here at the Triangle Curling Club in Durham, North Carolina. This has been the 2023 Brewers Charity Spiel. Zakai, I hope you had fun.
I had a wonderful day. I hope you did as well. You know, Triangle Curling is constantly streaming events such as these. Even standard weekly league play is available on our YouTube channel, so feel free to come check it out if you just want more curling action here in Durham.
Folks, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for spending your time with us. We can't wait to see you out at the club. Take a look, see if there's a league that fits you, and sign up today. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend.